Hey guys, Chris here. You joined me here outside of my friend's car dealership here, TS Autosalg, to test drive this, a 2005 Range Rover Vogue 3-liter diesel, or the TD6, which it is called. In the mid-2000s, this was the ultimate luxury SUV that you could buy. So this is somewhat of, never drive your heroes, because this was a car I was just drooling and dreaming after in the early and mid-2000s, and I still think that the big Range Rovers are one of the most luxurious, one of the prettiest and most classy cars you can buy. So in this video, we're gonna take this car for a test drive and see if this car lives up to the hype that I have built over all these years. So let's just start off with just a quick tour of the exterior on this car. I will have a whole separate video on the interior and on the exterior of this car, but I do really like the classy Range Rover portions and just, the overall boxy design. Though this has some very smallish 18-inch wheels, 255/60 guys, 255/60 18s, and I think they have the Range Rover Sport wheels. I don't think these were the original wheels for this car, but it is on winter tires, so it might have, different wheels for summer. And this also has the facelifted 2010 grille, which I think makes this car just look a bit more modern, and it has the blue exterior color, which is the right color to have this car. It also has the beige ivory interior, I think it's called. Walking over to the rear, it's just a boxy, classy Range Rover design. So let's take a step inside, check out the interior before we go for this test drive. And the step in height is just crazy immense, and we're granted by this huge steering wheel. And this car is actually, a 2005 model. I think it's registered in 2014, so it's 14 years old, done 250,000 kilometers, and that really shows on the interior. This driver's seat is quite worn, discolored, but everything looks fairly nice. It's not the worst interior I've seen, and everything works perfectly. So let's get the camera mounted here on the windshield and take this car for a test drive. So I'm actually quite excited because I haven't driven a big proper Range Rover of this generation before. I've driven the Sport, which was a car I really did like in the mid-2000s. I think that car has aged quite terribly, though the facelifted version, which came out in 10 or 11, is miles better. So let's start this thing up. So as I said, this has a 3-liter diesel, a BMW derived unit. It's a 3-liter straight 6, 177 horsepower. And why? I'm going to turn off the infotainment there. 177 horsepower, and quite refined-ish at idle. Not bad. This is, as we've said many times now, an old car, 15 years old, 14, 15 years old, but feels modern enough. 6-speed auto, manual handbrake, and so this car has been running for a while because it is cold outside, just to warm up the cabin so I'm not freezing in here. So it's not a cold start, but first impressions over that bump. This is very softly sprung, very comfortable air suspension, of course. Well, it feels like I was expecting. Though that engine is quite loud. This isn't bad at all. Well, vague steering, and not the sharpest. The steering in my XC90 is very sharp. Modern steering is very sharp compared to old steering, but and you sit very high. You have this huge, expansive, greenhouse, huge panes of glass. This window is amazingly big. Oh yeah, body lean. This doesn't have any sport suspension or any modern suspension trickery. And actually, it feels very commanding sitting this tall. You have the hood, you can see. across. You have these huge wing mirrors, and the side mirrors being lower than the dashboard really helps with visibility. So let's see if we can overtake here. Punch it a bit. Yeah, that's full throttle. This isn't a quick car. This 3-liter diesel, you know, this car's, I don't know, 2.2, 2.3 tons, 177 horsepower, though having a lot of torque. But I am genuinely impressed by the way this car drives. It's very comfortable. It feels very sharp, though the steering is very vague. It's vague from the factory. I don't think this is vagueness because this car has done 250,000 kilometers. It might be, but the steering feels, you know, it feels precise in that there isn't any play in the steering rack. It's not, you know, it's not that the steering rack is worn. It's just that the steering is very vague, making it really comfortable to drive. And this steering wheel is massive. And having this 4-spoke steering wheel means I can rest my hand on the bottom of the spoke. This thing feels proper luxurious, guys. I am positively surprised. I'm genuinely surprised that this car is as good as this to drive. Not a lot of wind noise, not a lot of tire noise. I could most definitely daily this. And that diesel engine, once it settles down, it's quite enough. And well, it is a 6-cylinder unit, so it is loud, but the noises it makes aren't the worst. It would be much worse if this was a 4-cylinder. And yeah, hitting the brakes there. So brake feel isn't a strong suit, though the brakes are effective enough. The steering is very light. It just feels very light to drive and very easy to drive this car. So I'm going to drive some more, drive through town, and I'll catch up with you guys when I have, a bit more time behind the wheel of this car. This being a long and wide car, you would expect that this would be hard to drive in the city, but because of this expansive greenhouse, because the body shape is so, you know, square and you sit so high, the visibility is amazing. It is very easy to drive, and the steering is super light. And also over this cobblestone covered street, it is very, very comfortable because of air suspension and because this car has 18-inch wheels instead of 22s or 23s or 24s. It is very, very impressive. I am genuinely impressed by how this car drives. The only downside about it is this 3-liter diesel, which is very loud. It sounds very it sounds like a farm machine is what it sounds like. It sounds like a tractor. So it's not very refined. It is very loud, and you really notice it while driving around town. But otherwise than that, this is very impressive, very easy to drive, very comfortable, very easy to maneuver. And it doesn't have nearly enough or nearly as much body lean or rolling motions that as I was expecting. It is surprisingly flat. So this, I am genuinely impressed by how this car drives. So there you go, guys. That was my test drive of the 2005 Range Rover Vogue TD6, and I am genuinely impressed by how good this car is. This is one of, you know, meet your heroes that you definitely should test drive. It doesn't disappoint at all. It is comfortable. It is luxurious. Yes, it is dated, but everything is just leather, wood, and soft touch plastics, and everything just feels solid, from the way the door closes to the way, you know, the gear selector feels to the switch gear. It still feels very solid and very luxurious, you know, 15 years on. It is comfortable. It is quiet. My only caveat with it is the TD6, the 3-liter straight 6 diesel engine. It is a bit noisy, but well, I could live with that. Or you could, you know, go for the newer version that had the V6 unit, which, you know, is more quiet, makes more power. Or you could go for the TD V8 or, you know, any of the gas powered versions. This is the most noisy, the most agricultural version of this car, but it is very impressive, and I'm really glad that I took the time to test drive it, to film it, because yeah, I still have a very fond picture of this car in my head, and I'm probably going to go out and see if I can, you know, find a newer version and how much that costs, though I'm probably not going to buy one because I just have enough cars with the two cars I have. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below, and for more car content, as always guys, please subscribe. See you guys later, and goodbye.